Hello, podcast. Hey, how's it going? It's episode 2 of the Fishing Outrageous podcast. We got Garrett Hughes with you here.
I'm James Hill.
And we have a special guest today.
Scott McGill.
Alright, we're going to ask Scott some questions and hopefully he can have some answers for us. And
I hope so.
give you guys a little, maybe some insiders to some fishing and tell us about his life. So if you want to introduce yourself.
So again, my name's Scott McGill. I'm originally from Erin, Ontario. I've spent probably the past 3-4 years in the Kawartha Lakes area. I'm a fish and wildlife graduate from Fleming College in Lindsay in the Kawarthas, and I'm currently studying in a biology program up here in Thunder Bay at Lakehead University.
And how'd you get into fishing?
I've been fishing probably for 20 plus years, like a lot of us. I've been fishing since I was a kid, but it was probably about 6 or 7 years ago that I actually started to take my fishing sort of to the next level. I had fished my first Pro-Am on Lake Simcoe, and I remember getting up there a few days early and taking my 12-foot tinner out on Lake Simcoe, which is sometimes that's not the best idea, but anyways, the wind cooperated, and I headed out there, to try to see if I could maybe do a little pre-fishing of my own. And up until that point, as far as tournaments goes, all I knew was what I watched on TV, so I headed out there to see, what I could make happen and whatever, and I didn't catch a single bass.
Humbling.
It was very, very humbling, especially on a place like Lake Simcoe. And so anyways, I headed back, and I was really looking forward to this Pro-Am because I wanted to see what the deal is, and especially where these fish are, and what I was doing wrong and all that. And so anyways, I showed up the next day. It was a CSFL Pro-Am, and I drew a guy named Mike DeForge. And at the time, I didn't really know who Mike was, and all the guys at the boat launch said, "Oh, you're gonna have a good day today. Oh, that's awesome. You're going with Mike. Oh, yeah, it's gonna be a good day." And I was like, "Okay, well, this should be good." And so, anyways, we headed out there, and to make a long story short, we sacked up a good bag. It probably wasn't a winning bag, but I think we had around 17, 18 pounds, and we finally packed up to leave, and we headed out around one of the islands, and like Lake Simcoe usually does, it had blown right up in the afternoon, and Mike started having issues with his motor. I don't know if I think the bilge pump stopped working, and we were taking on water, and we're having trouble getting on plane, and I'm hanging off the back of the bass boat, shoveling water out and taking turns driving, and it was just, I was soaked and I was shivering, and I was just, eventually we had to dump our fish out, and and poor Mike was telling me, it was one of the only times he's never made it back. And so anyways, we finally start idling in through the narrows there, and he looks at me and he goes, and he asks me, "How was that? What do you think of tournament fishing?" And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, this is awesome, man." And so, I was, despite some of the things that happened that day, I was really blown away at how quickly, he was able to put things together and find fish and catch fish, and it just kind of snowballed from there. I think one of the best things I ever did was I exchanged numbers with Mike, and I told him, like I have with many other people I've had the chance to fish with, if you ever need someone in the boat during pre-fishing, or someone to split some costs with, and then give me a call. And he did that, and over the next couple of years, I spent some time pre-fishing with Mike for some classics, and I even traveled with him down to New York for an FLW event. And it was just, I feel so lucky to have been able to spend that kind of time with him, because I quickly realized that Mike is probably one of the best smallmouth anglers in the country up here. And so So yeah, I was pretty lucky that way, and like I said, it kind of snowballed from there.
So Mike's one of your biggest influences coming
Yeah,
into tournament fishing?
Definitely. Yeah, he's pretty inspirational. I mean, he was like a lot of the guys out on the water that are kind of quiet. They're very, very humble guys, and they're usually the ones you really got to watch for out there. So
he gave you the fever.
He gave me the fever,
and
all
the
right.
only prescription is more bass fishing.
Yeah, you got that right, man.
So now you're up here, you're in school, which could definitely cost a lot of money.
Yep.
How are you finding to be capable of juggling school time and money with bass fishing time and money?
I mean, I'm in school myself as well. I'm just finishing up now, and I know it's tough. But for you, you're at LU. It's a little harder than what I'm doing. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like because I am studying biology, and I studied a lot of the stuff I'm doing here at when I was doing my fish and wildlife program. So I mean, it's not easy, but it's something that I really enjoy, and when I sit through every class, I'm always able to translate what I'm learning somehow into fishing knowledge. So that helps keeping me going. But I've been a little quieter with tournaments the past few years because just because of money wise, and I think some of the best advice I got was from Andy, the guy that runs the CSFL tournament series down south. When I was a lot younger, and he said it's great that you're real excited to get into this, but he said make sure you still go get an education. He said don't uproot your life for this right away, because it's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of money, and you want to have that background. And I mean, and I think that's definitely really important, especially for us Canadians, because we don't get to fish for bass all year round too.
Yeah.
So the past few years, I mean, I've kind of spent a little less time actually in tournaments, or at least bigger events anyways. I mean, you can still fish club events and a lot of smaller stuff, which is still gets you out there, still kind of fulfills that need to compete. And basically, yeah, I try to get on the water every time I can, and even if that means just taking 3 or 4 rods and going down to the shore somewhere and making some pitches and casts, and I'm just sometimes that's all that you can do. But I think the biggest thing is you got to keep at it, and you got to be able to balance that budget, and realize that your education is still got to come first. There's always time to concentrate on fishing, and once I get this schooling done, that background, that's what it's going to do. It's going to allow me to put a lot more effort into my fishing.
Absolutely.
So, clubs. What kind of clubs where you're from were you a part of? Because I imagine that's like pairing a boater with a non-boater gives you a chance if you don't have.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like other than the pro-ams, which they're a little harder to come by now these days. I don't know if it's just an economy issue or what it is, but clubs are definitely the next best thing, especially for anyone wanting to get into tournament fishing, because clubs are not about. They're not about making money. If you're going into club tournaments to make money, you're in the wrong place. They're there because they're there for guys that, like all of us, that share a passion about bass fishing, and you've got boaters and you've got non-boaters, so you don't have to have a boat. I mean, like myself, I still don't own a boat, and so. I can sign up for a club tournament. They do a draw. I get paired with a guy that does have a boat, and that gets me out on the water. It gets me competing, and it lets me fish with a lot of different people, which is great, because that's one of the things that has helped me the most, is being able to fish with so many different people. You're always learning something from someone that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talked about budget and everything for juggling between school and fishing, and I know myself being in school, it's hard to budget, and I find myself with fishing, both of us, that we find a product that we like and that we're confident in, and we put ourselves out there for sponsors, and that can help with budgets and stuff like that. I understand that you actually have a new sponsor with a new company. It's Imperium Baits. If you want to talk a little bit about that.
I'm really excited about these guys. I mean, they're going to be kind of the new face in the Canadian fishing industry. I mean, they've got some awesome stuff going on. It's going to be a soft bait company, and they're sort of bringing a few different things to the table that are going to separate them from everyone else. And we're still talking about Senkos and fluke style baits and some creature baits and a couple different kind of tubes, which I'll get into a bit here in a second. But for me, when I saw the baits, one of the biggest things was some of their colors. These, not only do they have some of those staple colors that we all rely on, but they've got some stuff that is just you never see. And we're all kind of always looking for that edge and something a little bit different, something different to show to fish. So that's one thing. And then the other thing that I'm really excited about, and that I think everyone else is going to be excited about, is the pack sizes these guys are doing. Because normally we're paying, you're paying somewhere around $8 for 6 baits, and they're offering for that same price. They're going to be 12 packs. And then they're also offering 24 packs.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of twofold. To me, like, A, you're saving a bunch of money and you're not having to buy more than one pack. But, we're saving on packaging, right? And so, there's less plastic and stuff floating around out there. And, we're going through a lot less packaging ourselves because, you know what it's like, especially in a tournament, and you got a hot bait, and it starts to get ripped up. You want to switch, and you end up going through baits quick. And so, I think that's going to be really awesome. And they've put together a wicked team of both professional and amateur guys here in Ontario, and that includes guides and just fishing enthusiasts and tournament anglers. We've got people like Steve Robotham and Rob Laframboy, who's up there with Mike DeForge and all those other guys. Rob's an amazing angler. Tons of great tournament fishes under his belt, and he's going to be helping us out too. So that really says a lot for the company that someone of that caliber is willing to jump on board. And so anyways, we've got their fluke style baits, which are called the Ace, and we've got the impact sticks, which are their Senkos, and then we have the Minotauro, which is this really badass looking creature bait. It's I'm not going to say too much because we still haven't released a lot of this, and but coming this May, so we got to be getting close now.
I can't tell because it's snowing outside.
Yeah, okay.
Go on. We won't December.
Yeah, we won't talk about that. That's right. Okay, so anyways, the website's going to be coming out soon. Right now you can find us on our Facebook page for Imperium Baits, as well as on Twitter. I think it's just at Imperium Baits. Does that sound right? Yeah? Okay. Well, that's good. That means we already got some followers then.
Yeah.
Cool. And so, and then one of the other cool things is they got a couple different kinds of tubes. And I brought the tubes with me because I think, James, you've seen them, but Garrett, you haven't seen some of these. So
I like tubes, so...
You do like tubes?
Yeah,
oh, okay. I figured. You northern guys like tubes, eh? You guys probably don't like Senkos, though, eh? Do you guys ever throw those?
They work sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
We don't want to give out too much information.
If nothing else is working, we'll throw one out.
So you want to get some big bites. Check out
thick.
These things.
Those are thick.
Are they cool looking or what?
You don't even have to spit in this one.
Exactly. And you know what? One of the things, speaking of spitting in them, and trying to slide heavy tube jigs into them, we've got, so those are the Phenom tubes, and we've got our regular tubes here, the Prodigy tubes, right? So these are a tube size you're used to using, and loaded with salt and scent, like these, they're great baits. You try some yourself if you want. No? Okay. All right. So anyways, they're one of the biggest problems I have with, especially when it comes to fishing deep in the fall down south, we're using some real heavy tube jigs, sometimes up to half, 3/4 ounce,
and deep, aren't you?
Yeah, and you're in big waves, and like, you need that heavy weight to maintain that bottom contact. And with a lot of the normal size tubes like these Prodigies, I end up tearing them all up trying to get the tube jig inside of them. And that was one of the first things I did, is I took one of the biggest tube jigs I had and I slid it up in there, and it went up in there. It went no problem. I didn't rip the baits at all. And what are you laughing at? Come on, we got to keep this PG. Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
So anyways, yeah, like, I mean, I was really excited about the durability of the plastic. And the cool thing though is if you look at the Ace, their fluke style baits, which I got here, is not only are they a tough plastic, because you can literally sink a tube jig right into the front of them without ripping them. So I mean, you can see how I got this rigged up. I slid it right through the nose and slid the lead right into the bait. Didn't rip it. It sits in there just fine. But not only are they tough, they're real supple. They got some awesome action in them here. You can check that out. And I was using them through the ice a week ago, and I caught at least 12 to 15 pike on a single one of these Aces, and it was still good to go. I mean, it had some teeth marks and stuff like that, and these were a lot of these were small pike, those hammer handle pikes that are usually really good at destroying baits, and they held up just great. And like I said, they got an awesome action.
I mean, that's one of the biggest things you look for when you're buying baits is durability, right? Because the less it tears, the more money you get, or the more you get your money's worth.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, and that's the biggest thing, is we don't want to sacrifice. You don't want to sacrifice any action, right? Like, I mean, if the bait's got no action, like, no matter how durable it is, guys that are competitive like us, we're not going to use it, right? Yeah. And so I'm really excited about these guys. People are really, really going to get their money's worth on these baits.
Well, I'll have to check them out for sure. I think they're Fishing Outrageous approved.
Oh, awesome.
And again, you can check those out on Twitter at Imperium Baits, and Imperium Baits on Facebook.
So since we were talking about some baits and stuff like that, and we're going to start a segment here for every Fishing Outrageous podcast. We're going to have something called Tips, Tricks, Do's, and Don'ts. Thanks to James came up with that one there. So
Scott, tell us some tips, tricks, some do's and don'ts.
No way, I ain't telling you guys nothing. Okay, well, I got a couple things we can talk about here.
I mean, don't give everything away.
No. Well, that's the thing. You got to save a few for yourself. But actually, I got one here for you guys, especially Mr. Wacky Rig over here beside us here. Yeah. So you know how you use those Wacky Rig jig heads, right?
Right.
They just got that real lightweight and like a circle hook style hook on them, right? And you hook your Senko in the middle, and you get that nice motion, that nice flutter motion on your Senko as it goes down, right? Well, one thing that a lot of guys don't do or ever think of doing is doing that with flukes.
Oh.
So, like, especially if you get in a situation where you got fish busting bait and there's dead bait flying around and this and that, what you do is you hook it right through the back, right in the middle of the fluke, right? And it's never, depending on the way that your soft bait's weighted, because they're not uniform, the flukes all the way across. So sometimes the hook's got to be a little more to one side. But what's going to happen is now when that sinks, when you lift on it, it's got this really quick flutter on both the head and the tail. And I was watching it on these Ace through the ice the other day, and it looks awesome. And then when you let it go down slowly, it's got that same nice sort of methodical pulse as it drops down. So anyways, it's something a little different, something that I never really see a lot of guys doing. I mean, maybe they are, and maybe that's why I'm just catching on. But anyways, yeah. So
essentially, you're trying to make it look like an injured.
Exactly.
Or something, man,
yeah.
Or shad, or
for sure. And I mean, I'm still kind of playing around with it myself. It seems like if you rig it a little more to one side, you almost get a bit of a glide out of the bait as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, that could have some applications when you're trying to get it under docks and stuff like that too, right?
Sounds good.
Yeah. So I guess that's the only trick I'm going to tell you. I'm not telling you guys anything else now. But no, I'll say one other thing too. Since I got these tubes in front of me, one of the biggest mistake I see guys when they're fishing tubes vertically, especially for lake trout in the winter, is they'll take their tube jig and they shove it right up to the head of the bait. You know, the same as you would with bass when you're dragging tubes and stuff. But what happens is when you do that, the bait tends to fall pretty heavy nose down. And if you've ever seen a bait fish die, or you've thrown a dead bait fish in the water or whatever, when they're going down, they don't just plummet down to the bottom, right? Mm-hmm. They have this big sort of spiral to them as they sort of slowly sink. And so what you can do is stick your tube jig into the tube, instead of shoving it all the way up, stop it maybe put it only about 2/3 of the way in, sometimes even less. So you're leaving almost a ½ inch in front of where the hook eye is going to pop through. Mm-hmm. And by doing that and leaving it set back, the bait's going to have a big spiral to it as it goes down. And actually, the farther back you leave the hook eye in the tube, the bigger the circle you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And so it's just, it makes them look a lot more lifelike. Sometimes, depending, like I said, how far back you put it, you can get that much slower of a fall as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea, because you know what I find with me when I'm bass fishing, about 9 times out of 10, the strike actually comes from when the bait is falling, not when I'm dragging it along the bottom.
For sure.
So, yeah, that's a good tip.
Well, I know dragging tubes up here dragging anything up here isn't easy on the Canadian Shield.
It's more like snagging.
Talking about angling on a budget. We're going through baits. If you decide to drag it, you're getting snagged up.
Have fun.
Well, I noticed that in the fall when I got out with you, and I was trying to drop shot everything. I don't know how many weights I donated to these freaking lakes around here. So, anyways, okay. So what else do you guys want? You guys want a tip now, right? I think the biggest tip.
Don't stand up in a canoe.
What's that? Yeah, sure. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, we don't stand up in a canoe.
Okay.
Don't pee in the wind.
Yeah.
Anything? Any other tips?
Don't bet on a slow horse.
Oh man.
Okay, now we're getting a little off topic. What about some do's and don'ts here?
Okay. So something fishing related then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Biggest tip: do your homework. I mean, if you're going to a new lake, or even if it's a lake you've been to, I mean, a lot of people don't take the time to really look into it. And with the access we have now on the internet to stuff, I mean, satellite images, maps and and photos and articles and all this, find everything that you can about the body of water that you're going to before you even get there. And it's really going to speed up that process when you get on the water.
Awesome. Don'ts?
Don't neglect your research before you go to a body of water.
There you go. Don't neglect your research. What was I going to say? See, you guys are just messing with me now.
Yep.
I know one. This is something that happened to me about a week ago. I lost a big fish. And
likely story.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, anyways, this is something that I think everybody is guilty of, and I even see when I'm watching. Sometimes we're watching pros on TV and stuff, and I see it happen to them too. Don't always assume that your line and your hook points and stuff is okay, especially after you've caught a fish or you've come in contact with anything. And like I was saying, I said I missed a big fish a week ago on a tip up, and I had we were fishing for pike with big dead bait and stuff, and we had wire leader, and then above my leader was I had 25-pound fluorocarbon, and super strong line. There was absolutely no reason that it should have broke, but I got a real heavy fish on in about 4 or 5 feet of water, and I must have had some kind of nick on that line, because when he ran, it rubbed on the edge of the ice, and it's like butter. It was just gone. And so it was my own fault, because I didn't check it. I had fought a couple other fish on that line through, like I said, in that shallow water. There's a good chance that it rubbed, it nicked, and then he just hit that spot right, and boom, there it goes. So yeah, like I said, don't ever just assume that your line is okay or that your hook points are sharp, because anytime that you assume that, that's when a big fish is going to bite.
Maybe absolutely. Have a tale of one that got away.
Exactly.
Nobody believes that anyway, so might as well just pull it in. So another I guess, don't forget about our giveaways.
That's right.
Today on this show, we're giving away 2 rod gloves. We got a red standard spinning rod glove and a black casting rod glove.
Yeah, that big shout out to Raw Gloves for donating those for a giveaway.
Can I have them?
No.
No.
Well, you can. I guess you could enter, but
don't worry, we'll filter that one out. So
I can already tell you're not going to win.
You know what you get? You get a high five.
Oh, okay. All right, I can deal
So
with that.
I guess how we're going to give these away is just going to have to email in to fishinoutrageous@hotmail.com. And you're just going to have to type in your name, your address, and the secret code word.
It's a secret.
So
our secret code word we went with this podcast, since it's Rod Gloves and their biggest representative, I guess, is the G-Man. So Gerald Swindle, his nickname is G-Man. So when you send us the email, put your address and everything, and then put the code word as G-Man.
And then just hit send, and then that's your entry.
Yeah, and we'll randomly draw from all the entries, and we'll get back to you with letting you know if you won or not.
Okay, so I guess that concludes this episode. I just want to thank Scott for bearing with us through a little bit of technical difficulties we had earlier and all of that. So thanks for coming out, Scott. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, no, it was good, man. I mean, you guys are a couple of goons, but I definitely had a lot of fun here, and yeah, thanks for having me on. Like we said earlier, make sure you guys get out there and check out Imperium Baits. The website's going to be released this May. You can follow them up until that point on Twitter and on Facebook, and you can also find myself on Facebook as well as on nationalprostaff.com and on Twitter at McGill_fishing. And yeah, so I hope you guys have a good season whenever it starts. I guess like the end of August or something like that.
Pretty much. There's a lot of hard water out there still, so thanks Mother Nature.
Yeah. So how much ice fishing did you do this winter?
I think we got out for one afternoon.
Yep.
It was terrible.
We caught no fish, so it was.
And it was cold.
I think we're gonna stick to boat fishing.
I invited you guys out. I mean, you should have taken
Truth is, we
out.
don't really like you, so this is just, we needed guests.
It's all making sense now.
So then, don't forget, you can find me on Twitter too, at Team FO Fishing. You can find me on National Pro Staff too, is under James Hill. Check out our Facebook page, and then I guess look for Garrett if you want on Twitter too.
Yeah, I'm at Fish Outrageous. It would have been Fishing Outrageous, but it doesn't fit. So it's Fish Outrageous. Technicalities there, sorry. But yeah, I guess that ends episode 2. We like to thank our sponsors. We got Crestliner Boats, Smith's RV, Chronicle Journal, DNR Sporting Goods, local sporting goods shop in Thunder Bay. Check them out for sure. They're great guys there. And Big Ed's Exchange. And yeah, keep fishing outrageous.